Good afternoon, all respected delegates. Seth, I don't know if Sarah, if I can see her, but I don't know most of you, but at least good interactions from the morning. And maybe I'm just going to change the topic a little bit in the sense what I'm going to show, probably it could be new to most of you. So my name is Praveen Ingale. I work for a company called L&T Technology Services. We are basically into the digital transformation of the smart buildings. Now we all know that we have the buildings. So a human will have to stay almost like 70 to 80% of his day in an office building or maybe in a kind of a building wherever he works or whatever he wanted to do. Now, can I make these buildings more interactive is what I'm going to talk about. Definitely, we have been talking a lot from the morning about the data, the artificial intelligence, the machine learnings, etc. So somewhere within the process of the smart buildings, we are definitely leveraging that data and see how we can transform the base building or the regular buildings into a kind of a smart building. Okay, so maybe first let us all understand if it is a new concept to all of us, like what is a smart building, right? So a recent study says that a building that is safe, which improves the health and the working conditions of its occupant, thereby improving the productivity, which I stated this morning. And if it helps manage the buildings operationally to reduce the capex cost or the opex cost, and definitely it's definitely going to support the digital transformation needs. But the future is anything that creates a better user experience. Again, we were talking about this again in the morning, where you have been talking about the user experience, and then yes, what we are trying to do is, like, whoever is the user of the building, can it create a better experience for that person there altogether, right? And of course, smart building refers to any of the environments which includes the offices, museums, hospitals, school, malls, university campuses, or the hotels, or whatever you can think about, right? Now, definitely there are certain factors in the market that is driving the smart building requirements. Now, what is it all about, right? So, of course, the first thing we have all been like talking about is the sustainability, that is to make the net positive needs. When I say sustainability, we all have been like thinking, we all have been talking, the great leadership companies, the great leaders are talking about the sustainability. How can we make the future generation more green, right? So that is one of those factors to drive the smart building requirements, and I'll talk about how do we kind of achieve that in the next later stages. We are also talking about minimizing the operations cost. We're talking about the workspace trends, like wherever we have been working, how can we make it more productive? And of course, to reduce the lease cost of this campus or the space that we have been utilizing altogether, right? Now, what we do is when we start defining the smart buildings, we try to understand the personas who is using this building. I'm just going to take a classical example of a smart building for the office during my entire presentation, so it is understood by each of you pretty well. So when I talk about the personas, so we understand that, okay, there is an owner, there is an operator who is going to manage all the systems, and there are occupants who are going to utilize this space for sure, right? And when I talk about the scenarios, as I said, again, sustainability, I'm going to reduce the consumption of the energy levels. I'm going to ensure the space is very effectively utilized. I'm going to ensure the productivity of each person individually is being improved. Okay, so definitely we work with different partners, starting with the building infrastructure teams, we work with the facility management groups, we work with the workplace experience teams here. Okay, I mean, as I said, that my today's topic, as an example, I will be talking about how do you kind of transform or make the offices more smarter or more safer, right? So we all definitely are going through the pandemic situations. We are going through ensuring how to kind of make the buildings more safe or more healthier, right? So this is just a kind of a very typical a day scenario for each of us as an employee when we go to office, right? So how do we kind of ensure that we improve our productivity? So you see this like starting from the transit hub or starting from the house. I'm just trying to think like, how do I go to office today? Do I have any urgent meetings? Do I need to drive? Or is it okay for me to bicycle if the weather conditions are good? Or do I need to use a kind of a shuttle service where I can go with a group of people together, right? So everything is, again, kind of stored in a mobile app. application. So again, you're getting a lot of data. So that data is being utilized here for the end applications. Once I enter the office, I go to the lobby. I just check with the kiosk. Like it's basically going to talk about like a hot desking, which means there are no reserved desks in the future. So you just go to a lobby, just check what is the space available, or just go and find where is your peer working today. Just follow him. You can just go and be seated there. And then this is going to be a kind of a hybrid work culture in the future that not necessarily everybody have to be in the office on the same day or same time. It's just depending on your requirements. You can just go in, just log in, do the hot desk, enter the space where you wanted to work, and then start your work. So of course, you are going through several meeting rooms, conference rooms, discussions room, or maybe sit up and work in your own work spot. You might need to have the lunch. You might need to kind of relax. So what we are trying to do here basically is trying to bring the data for the analytics to perform the necessary analysis. So there's a great statement, right? So in God, we all trust, but rest all should bring the data, right? So I'm definitely focused here to kind of get that data. So how am I going to do that? It's all about the smart digital solutions here. Okay? So why do we need it is what is we are definitely thinking about, right? So the use of the Internet of Things in the smart buildings to achieve the work-life ambience. Of course, whatever I did mention, that a lot of leaders are under the pressure to reduce the operational cost of the building's expenses, of course, to meet the sustainability goals, and to improve the employee experience. So that I definitely wanted to bring back my employees to the office, make them more comfortable, make them more productivity to work. Right? So there is also a very interesting 330-300 concept. And since most of you are from the corporate world, I would just take a minute to just explain this. So when we enter the building, if you are aware about this, that $3 per square feet is actually spent for the energy, whatever the lights, the HVAC systems that we are utilizing. So this is actually spent for the energy requirements. The $30 per square feet annually is spent for the space that we occupy, but the $300 is actually spent on an employee. This is very important to know that everybody of us today in the current world are focused to reduce the energy consumption. But actually, if we all understand, the cost or the expense is high, that is at the $300 per hour. So how do I help improve the efficiency of my employee? How do I improve the productivity is what is the goal all about we're trying to define right now. Right? So I'm just talking about the various opportunities here. So the building operations infrastructure, it's all about the consumption of the power, the water, or the electricity, about the security requirements. But as I move the lease space, if I bring in some type of sensors, right, so that I can do a hot desking, right? Can I get in a people counter sensors? Can I get a kind of an occupancy sensors which states that, yes, this conference room is occupied, or this workspace is occupied, or this table is occupied or not, then I'm definitely going to reduce the space cost, right? And then if I just move a little bit ahead, what we all also wanted to do is bring in a better ambience for an employee. So personalization is going to be the future. Of course, it is their current, it is going to be future in the buildings as well. And when I say personalization, I was sitting and working there, I felt it was too cold for me. I just wanted to get a warmer space. Can I control the HVAC, the system there under me? Can I control and make it a little bit warmer? That is the personalization experience I'm requesting within the building. I felt that the light was too dark or too low. I wanted to increase the kind of the lumen levels or the ambience. Can I increase just the space where I'm sitting and working, right? And I wanted to know the health condition of this building, like what is the carbon dioxide or the carbon monoxide presence in this right now in this conference room, right? Because there are a lot of people, of course, there is a lot of release of the CO2 or the carbon dioxide itself. Is the air circulating fresh air as sufficient as it is required? Because for a brain to function effectively, we need to have oxygen, a lot of oxygen, of course. So these data are coming from these sensors. Okay? So basically what we are trying to do is focus on the employee, focus on what is required to improve the productivity of the employee, and wherever there are inefficiencies, cut it down. So it is just not I'm focusing on the environment or giving a better ambience to the employees. I'm also ensuring that the employee saves time in terms of finding a space or meeting conference room or a table that is available, or even if he goes to cafeteria, he should be knowing in advance whether the cafeteria is available, whether there is a long queue, list of queue or not. Everything he can come to know even before he can go and travel to that place to get his food, right? So all these things we are kind of considering or factoring. Even the wayfinding solutions within the buildings, right? It is so difficult if you have been working with the largest companies or the largest employers here. I'm absolutely lost when I just try to find, okay, the 2213 is here, and where is 2215, just the conference room number, and then I'm really lost. I'm spending almost, on an average, 3 minutes to just find a conference room in my office building. I just wanted to improve through the productivity. If I have a wayfinding solution on my mobile application, it's so easier for me to just find the space. I'm just cutting down that 3 minutes where I'm just trying to find the space there, right? And the same thing that we now have the largest parking garage coming up elsewhere, everywhere. You know, there are somewhere about like minimum 1,000 car which is getting parked to about like 6,000, 6,500 car parking spots. Now, I'm actually, again, lost. Like, how do I go and find my car? Where did I place it? Right? Again, I'm going to use the wayfinding solutions. It's so simple for me that I have already registered my name, my car plate number. I just try to find where is my car, and it shows the direction. From the space I'm working to the garage, exactly where I have parked my vehicles now. So that is, again, helping me improve the productivity there. Okay. Of course, not to scare anyone of us, but in the pandemics, we all are really scared. We are all worried that when my colleague comes and sits beside me, how safe am I, right? Is there a way that a technology can really kind of like come and tell that, okay, are there any way I can tell that am I maintaining the social distancing? Is there a way that I can tell that am I in contact with somebody who is already infected? Or can I tell somewhere that, okay, the person is really having a temperature, maybe we have to ask him to kind of restrict not to come to office, right? So these are all the solutions that we can definitely find using the digital smart solutions. Maybe the last factor of why we need to have a smart building. There are standards coming up in the market which is definitely pushing to gather a lot of data, right? Again, once we have the data, we can perform all type of analysis and ensure these buildings are more safe. Now, there are standards like the RESET, there are standards like WELL, there are standards like the US Green Building Council. They are all the authority or the bodies which is basically or primarily focused on providing the better health of the building working environment conditions. Okay, so what does it say? So these regulatories are basically trying to change the way the smart buildings, the occupants are using the buildings today. And it is definitely telling that it is gathering a lot of data, and it is giving the data constantly, which means I'm not worried about what is happening outside, but rather wherever I'm spending a lot of time today, I'm worried about this space, whether it is healthy, whether there are any pathogens or whether there are any kind of viruses surrounding me or not. And that information is always fed through your mobile application. Right? So how do we develop a smart building? Maybe a system integrator's perspective, right? So once, as I said, that the future is all about defining the user experience of an occupant. A typical example here I was talking about was developing a smart building solutions for the employees, right? So we are going to define what are the experiences that is required for an employee, starting from like the parking garage, where I go and park my vehicle and finding the way to the office. Then I'm going to improve the productivity in terms of developing the smart meeting rooms, which are going to be more and more interactive. I can definitely talk a lot about it, but just to let you know that we can have all those chatbots, everything made available so that it becomes more user-friendly. I wanted these buildings to talk or respond or reciprocate to me in the way I'm expecting it to be tomorrow. Okay? I'm also talking about the access where it's going to be a frictionless access. I don't have to go swipe a badge and kind of get in, but I just get in and then it just recognizes through the facial recognition or some kind of a smart technology. I just enter the building, I just perform the work, come out of that. right? I'm also focused on the wellness, where I'm kind of improving the food ordering status or the progress process there. The health and rejuvenation, which includes the lighting to maintain the employee's focus. Of course, the lighting, the HVAC plays a very critical role for us to perform very productive, right? And the smart gyms. In fact, we can always think about operations, how to improve the restroom management systems, how to improve or leverage the power that we are getting consumed today. Is there a way that can reduce the power consumption? So if I can kind of bring in some kind of a sensors to these lighting systems, which will automatically like shut down or go low as per the standard requirements, which means I'm definitely saving some power. And the goal here is, it's just not like going to shut down. You're going to get a message like, okay, hey, Praveen, you know, you did so much of work today, and the amount of power that you saved today was so much, etc. So which means you are also being informed through the AI process so that you know exactly like how the day went for you, how you could save the energy, etc. Okay? So for these experiences, we define certain solutions like okay, experiences cannot be like activated by itself. We definitely need to sensorize. We definitely need to bring in those data. And these are on the right is what you see the different solutions we are trying to talk about. So for example, when I was talking about the parking garage, for me to understand where I have parked my car, I need to know through the camera-based car occupancy, what we call it as like automotive parking guidance system, right? And then we need to identify a car locator kiosk. And of course, in the future, in the market, we are all talking about the electric vehicles. We wanted to ensure we need to have a lot of electric vehicle chargers. We wanted to ensure which of those charger units are available for me to go and charge or park my vehicle currently. Okay, for the wayfinding, we have been kind of installing or implementing the kind of a BLE beacons, which will definitely triangulate with your mobile and gives you the direction exactly where you wanted to go. Thereby, again, help improve your productivity, right? And from the productivity perspective, we have been focused on developing the smart meeting rooms, which has got a lot of display units, the video conference, the cameras, the booking displays, the speakers, etc. The ad hoc space finders, which helps improve the hot desking requirements, the occupancy sensor needs, and the noise sensors, basically to tell which of the space is available or which of the space is not available. Okay? And of course, from the access perspective, the digital badge or even the frictionless access, which just determines who is the person entering the building from the security perspective, and it allows, and in case if it is not authorized person, you're definitely going to be like asked to kind of like leave the premise from the security operations team, which is going to perform as a next step. Okay. Wellness, operations, sustainability. Of course, you think of anything that is inside the building, we can digitalize that, we can sensorize it, get the data, perform the necessary analytics, and see how it is being used, and can we improve the usability of each of these systems and solutions. So yes, we all have been today from morning talking about the northbound, where you have all the information fed into the cloud, you're performing the necessary analytics, and then taking the data back. What I'm trying to talk here is we need to have the sensors, the sensorization to feed the data. And once the data is being fed, it is fed to the northbound, the data is fed into the cloud, and that is where you perform a lot of analytics to get a better informed decisions. Okay, maybe this is just one slide overview, which talks about how do you digitally transform the buildings, right? I mean, at what stage of the construction life cycle do you want to get into the digital transformation? So this slide basically talks about defining the various stages of building. Like you start with the schematics design, you start with the detailed design, the construction document phase, and the final phase. We are just trying to very broadly tell that, okay, I will start with the envision phase where I'm going to define the experience. Once I define the experience, I'll go with what type of sensors are required to enable those experiences. And once I get into that, where I understand what sensors are required, the most important thing is how do I place these sensors in the building? Whether it should be visible or it should be not visible, or is it secure to place these sensors or not? And how do I get the data, right? Because all these efforts that we are putting together today is just to focus on how do I get the data to the cloud. And that is where we play a critical role in terms of the network integration. Once the network integration is properly designed and developed, we ensure the data is being fed to the cloud, then we perform the necessary analytics there. Okay, and just the last slide from my side. In summary, you can look what could be the various smart building solutions that we can deploy, which we have already deployed, starting with the wayfinding, the Wi-Fi access point, the smart building kiosk, the universal displays, the Wi-Fi access points, of course, to get the wireless network connectivity. We are also, in fact, implementing something called as a cell dash in the parking garages, which is in the basement, so that you get a continuous internet connectivity, so that even an employee who is driving from home can still be on the cellular network, and his network is not going down. The goal to make it most connected, most sustainable, most intuitive campus for all of us. Okay, thank you so much, gentlemen.
Excellent. That was very comprehensive and an excellent overview of all those possibilities, and we're seeing more and more of that happening these days. Questions, comments? How many folks are engaging in smart building initiatives? A couple of you, great, yeah. What are your thoughts? What are the stumbling blocks, or what are the roadblocks? How is that progressing? Microphone? I know you made eye contact, so I had to call on you.
Yeah, no, we used to do this 8 years ago, so we have pretty large installations doing these type of solutions. And the most, obstacles that you have is connectivity. Always connectivity and access to the right data.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Are you seeing the benefits that were expected?
Yeah, benefits are in the small things, I would say. Measuring the current for the whole building, you will discover a lot. That and pipes. That's where you have the business case.
Great.
Thank you.
Any other thoughts? Any other feedback?
There was a gentleman here.
Yep.
Our global company is running into some interesting experiences because the U.S. buildings, they've either been built smart or they've been retrofitted to be smart, but people are working at home and they're not interested in coming to them. Whereas our Asian buildings, which tend to be a little bit older, they're not as smart, but the flip side of it is that people in Asia generally are eager to go back to the office because their homes aren't as accommodating to work from home. And so there's a real, it's a paradox, it's a dichotomy. Where you have the opportunity, you don't have the interest. Where you have the interest, you don't have the opportunity. So these kinds of initiatives we think are really important.
And we're only going to see more of that with the trend to sustainability and efficiency and effectiveness, absolutely. But I really like the idea of that space adapting to people's personal preferences, to finding that location where you can do the appropriate work and being able to control those variables. Yeah, that's very important. Absolutely. Terrific. Thank you very much. Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you.